Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
No.
Life is a fight. In business, every day is a fight.
Totally.
So, hey, what's your problem?
Yes, as usual, thank you, Mr. John David Wells, the big voice guy for the show. This is the What's Your Problem podcast, where we talk to Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals about the one thing, because it's always something that's kind of nagging in the back of our minds. And once we accept that it's always something, it just seems to get better for some reason. This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com. And this year, the big, hairy, audacious goal, the BHAG, if you will, is 10,000 average downloads per episode on an annualized basis. If you could help us out there by sharing, caring, telling people about it, maybe seeing if anybody wants to be a guest on it. I mean, why not? I am your host, Jim McCarthy with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com, and today another returning guest, Mr. Regie Hamm. How are you, sir?
Dude, I have no idea why you have me on this show.
Because you're interested.
I am bringing no answer to any. I'm bringing no solution to any problem.
You are Reggie starting out on a high note here.
I'm letting everybody know from the beginning, I'm not going to solve your problem. Whatever your problem is, you will not get the answer from me.
You actually have a lot of good ideas, though. Come on.
Oh, do I?
I've known you for how long now? Since 08, 09?
Yeah.
Going on 16 years.
Yeah.
15 years.
Really? That long?
Yeah, 15 years.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I can't believe we're both still alive.
My gosh, you were just full of positivity. I don't know. I know you've always been kind of hard-hearted, but it's getting harder with old age, it seems, I guess, right? Or
it's either that or I'm just showing more of it.
You're just like you're giving damns busted.
Dude, it's not like I threw it out the window. Like I tapped on it a couple of times and I've thrown it out the window. It's actually not true. Like I'm putting a record out this week, and I'm specifically leaving a song off of it that is, I think, kind of mean.
Yeah.
Which normally that would delight me. To put a song out that's going to piss people off.
Right.
But just as I get older, I'm like, I don't know that I don't want to do that.
Well, what's the song about?
It's you don't want to know, and no one wants to know. There's no reason to talk about it. I'm not putting it out. You can't get it anywhere, so you're not going to be able to get it anywhere.
So you're just going to tease people by telling that I came up with a song, but I'm not going to tell you what it's about or let you hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. The 15 people who listen to my music won't care. They've already heard it anyway. If they private message me, I've sent it to them, but I'm not going to put it out for mass release.
Well, we're going to get into all of that. First, I got to do the what we call the dad joke challenge. We're going to lighten things up a little bit, okay? We're all dads here.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
The dad joke. Are you a big fan of dad jokes? I mean, they're basically Stephen Wright jokes.
They're awesome. I love dad jokes.
All right. So
I'm a dad, so,
They are brought to you by Mr. Ed Fox and Trade Bank. If you're a business that's got languishing items on a shelf or services that you just can't seem to move, maybe things are slow, try Trade. Trade Bank is a good option. You get plugged into a network with other businesses who do trade. You can trade your services or products for pennies on the dollar, basically what you buy them for, and, trade them for full retail. So, getting services for your business, save a little money here and there, but sometimes barter is just smarter, as Mr. Ed Fox talks about. Ed Fox is also a massive purveyor and writer of dad jokes, so he's the one who actually supplies them. So here we go, joke number one. And it is a challenge.
Okay.
You can laugh, you can groan, you can comment. Good thing is it's not the challenge. We don't really keep score, so I just kind of call it that. So
okay.
Here we go.
Did you know the definition of opaque is unclear?
Yeah. Very true.
Nice.
And then I ran out of my music bed all of a sudden. We're just having fun here. And here's another one.
My girlfriend told me to stop pretending to be a flamingo. That's when I had to put my foot down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This sets you up for the weekend. You got stuff. You got cannon fodder.
Yes.
I saw that one coming. It had to be a foot down.
To the person that stole my antidepressants. I hope you're happy now.
I saw that one. That was a hanging curveball. Yeah.
That one was good.
Yeah.
That one made me laugh. Number 4.
What do you call a mummy night with a sore throat? I don't know. Sir cough, I guess.
Sir cough, I guess. That's a reach.
That was a reach.
That's a reach.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
No last one, I promise.
I have a chicken-proof lawn. It's impeccable. Impeccable.
And then he drove it home.
Yeah. He gave us I wrote a dad joke that's kind of a music-specific dad joke.
Does not surprise me.
What do you call a person who works on guitars who has a great voice?
Not a drummer.
Luthier Vandross.
Wow. That's pretty dang good. I like that one.
Yeah. I'm kind of proud of that one.
That one's a very good one. I like it.
Yeah. But you got to know what a luthier is. You got to know who Luther Vandross is,
I knew both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say anybody under 30, maybe even under 40 probably wouldn't get that.
A lot of people under 30 don't know much. So I just insulted a majority of mine.
How true is I think it's mainly just they just don't know. I'm starting to get really stunned at how much of my culture people under 30 don't know.
Right.
Well,
the last time you were on, we talked a little bit about that, the new generation of rock star. And that was the YouTube influencer, Instagram, TikTok influencer. Yeah. And you're doing all those things. I see you.
Yeah, I do all that stuff.
You're coaching people and showing people how proper songwriting is done and how things work here in Music City. And they have questions. I see them asking questions.
Yeah, they've got questions.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? You're kind of doing it for fun, or
I'm kind of doing it really to just. I mean, honestly, it's all completely self-motivated. Yeah. I mean, that's not the right word. It's.
Yeah, we've got people constructing in the background. So
this is the greatest podcast I've ever been on.
Yeah,
it's a I'm trying to build an audience essentially. When I went on to TikTok, I didn't really want to go on TikTok, and then I got addicted to it. Like once I got the app, I couldn't stop watching it, and so I thought, I don't know, should I do this? And it was like, whatever you're an expert in, this is how the thing comes up. This is what they tell you. They want share things that you're good at. And I'm like, I'm not really an expert at anything. I mean, I know a little bit about songwriting, so I'll just share songwriting tips.
Yeah,
little things, little hacks through the years that maybe you wouldn't learn. You might not even learn them in school. Just stuff that songwriters know. We talk about. That might be fun, and that's how it started. And it's gotten. As long as we're talking about that, it's pretty mundane,
right?
Once we start talking about the business of it, that's when it gets, people have all kinds of.
Because they all want to know. It's interesting. It's mysterious.
Yeah,
and you're pushing 6,000 followers. I see. 54,000,
something like that.
That's nothing to scoff at, man.
5,940 something as 51. Of today.
Yeah, you've ticked up a few.
And let me tell you, this is what I firmly believe about the TikTok app. Really, all of it. I think they mess with you to keep you on there. Look, the goal of all of these platforms is to keep you on there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't care about me. Right. They don't care about you. They don't care about anybody on that app. They care about people staying on that app.
Yeah, that's how they monetize.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah. I don't. Do I have 5,900? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, they may just be telling me I have that. But
you have the engagement.
My theory is that they're just telling me what I want to see to keep me coming back. That's what my theory is.
You've got, on the latest one, 86 comments. You got 268 hearts, a couple of bookmarks, forwards, all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know what any of that means.
That means somebody shared it with somebody else.
Do I get a check for that, or what?
I'll check into it.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's my problem, Jim.
Yeah, getting more checks.
Yeah, you caught me on a salty day. I don't really know what any of this means. You know, to me it's a lot of, there's a lot of time wasted. But then something will come out of it. You know, like somebody will reach out and they'll be. Do we want to keep doing this today, or or should we do this another day?
I could probably tell them to be quiet. So.
I've literally never been on a show like this. This is almost like a sketch.
Yeah. They showed up, Justin. They haven't been here for weeks. Today they showed up.
Wow.
And decided
and
to,
of course I was late, which I apologize
That's all right.
profusely about. I got I thought I could get more done today than I could.
Well, hopefully this kind of lightens things up. I mean, even though we got a whole bunch of fun stuff going on in the background, it's it's certainly. Maybe there's a reason for it. Who knows?
Have you ever heard or watched a podcast where they're literally doing construction in the next room?
Yeah, mine.
Okay. The first for everything.
It's like in the building that we were in, they were doing construction constantly on that friggin' building.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd be like, hey, just give me an hour, and they wouldn't listen. And, it's all sorts of fun,
But see, again, this is me,
It's
man.
life, man.
This is me. This is like mean Reg.
Yeah. I don't think you're mean. You're just, you've seen a lot.
Man, it's just about BS. It's like there's so much BS, and I think the older I get, the less time I have.
Right.
And you realize, man, I don't have that many summers left, and I'm not going to spend them.
You could have 40 summers left for all you know.
That's not as many as I've had.
That's true, but you can't look at it that way. I mean,
Honestly, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
If I die tomorrow, I'm ecstatic with the life I've had. I've lived 3 lives. I've done everything, like I said, twice.
Yeah.
I've been rich, I've been poor, I've been, all of it. Whatever anybody has tried to do in life, I've probably done it.
Right. If you could go back and change stuff, what would it be?
I would have never written one Christian song for the Christian music industry. Not one.
Really?
Yeah. And I would have never.
And that was like put your mark on the world in a sense.
That's why I wouldn't have done it.
Really?
Yeah. Not in the industry. I might have written a song about Jesus, but I wouldn't have written in that industry.
Right.
And I would have never. I went to 1 year of college. I would have never set foot on that campus.
Really?
In fact, I wouldn't have gone to any college. But that was my initial instinct. And my best friend talked me into going and rooming with him, and I did it. And it's a big regret, just because I think it was wasted time.
Well, there's always a lesson to be learned out of any of those things.
Yeah.
You know what you know, and you know what you don't know at that point.
Yeah, I was 18, so I didn't know a lot of anything, but I had an instinct about college. It felt, the minute I went to the first class, it felt like a scam to me.
Right.
It felt like a multi-level marketing. My grandfather told me something when I was 16 or 17, and it stayed with me, and I carried that into my experience. He said, "Son, to get a college education, all you need is a library card."
Yeah.
He said, all you're going to be doing is reading.
Yeah.
And the difference is you're going to be reading what they tell you to read.
Because you got to force yourself to expand your mind.
Yeah.
And do things you don't like doing.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And now I get it. You're going to go learn things you probably would never think to learn and all of this. But I don't know. The minute I started in the college system, I just thought, oh, this is an institution set up for that person to get paid and that person to get paid, and that guy's got a job and she's got a job, and without us all showing up here to read what they tell us to read and think what they tell us to think, these people don't have jobs. I get this.
Yeah.
This is a way for people to make money.
How do you feel about the whole paying back the student loan thing? What are your thoughts on that? I would imagine you have thoughts and opinions on that.
Yeah, I think it's essentially buying votes.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way you can look at it.
I've always asked the question, okay, why, if everything that the college institution is selling somebody isn't worth the paper it's printed on, why are we not going after the colleges for the money
Well,
back?
that's, okay, so you want to get into it? We'll get into it.
Let's get into it.
I call it big ed.
Yeah.
Okay? We talk about big pharma, we talk about big oil, we talk about big ag. Nobody wants to talk about big ed.
Right.
And I've been thinking about this for 15, 20 years. Big education.
Yes.
Okay? That's the biggest scam in America.
Yeah.
And nobody will talk about it because we all revere the professors and we think teaching is a noble profession. And it is.
It totally is.
It's absolutely is.
Yeah.
But the way we institutionalize it, the way we monetize it, all of this stuff, man, it's a grift. It's a racket. I get it. I know what you guys are doing.
I think a lot of people are
and they are raising the prices.
Yeah.
So we'll say, hey, these poor kids take out these loans to get these. Hey, guess what? Your college institution is raising the prices. They're gouging people every year.
Yeah.
And then they give more people tenure. So you can't fire them. You can't. There's no market dynamic happening anywhere.
Yeah.
That big campus that keeps buying 5 acres on the left and 20 acres on the right and 70 acres down the street, and they keep building buildings. Go down to Belmont.
Yeah.
They've never stopped building down there.
Yeah.
And do you know how they're doing it? They're selling songwriter degrees. That's how they're doing it.
Songwriter degrees.
Yeah, which you can't do a damn thing with.
Right. But hey, I've got a degree. You should accept it.
Yeah, and so the government will back the loan, so you can go get a degree you can't do anything with. This is a grift, Jim.
And you cannot claim bankruptcy on that loan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can't do anything with it except pay it back. You basically become an indentured servant to the institution you went to get a piece of paper from.
I would say it's in collusion with all the banks. That's like home ownership.
It's 100% a grift. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like we got to have some people in the middle to move this money around.
Yeah.
And the people in the middle are the kids.
Well, it's funny that the whole conversation, like I said before, never revolves around, well, hey, this isn't exactly what I expected. The paper that I got isn't worth it. I want my money back. So give it to me. What's your return policy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nobody asks those questions because they already set it up to you. They posture in the beginning that you have to apply to get in. And then once you apply, once we accept you, then we'll accept your money.
See, that again, college acceptance is
a posture.
Is to me is like a laughable thing. Hey, I'm the customer.
Right.
I don't have to apply to get in here.
Yep.
The only thing you need to know about me is my credit score.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I look at things a lot differently than some people, and I've always seen it that way.
I'm in complete agreement.
I was one of my friends, and this speaks to Gen X. Maybe it's my generation that thinks this way, but in a freshman in college, I'll never forget this. The greatest line I've ever heard. We were in this friend of mine. She was cutting up in class, and the professor goes, "Jamie, I'm going to need you to stay after class." And she goes, "No, I only paid for an hour."
Right.
It's like, no, bro, I'm paying you. If I want to chew bubblegum and do handstands in this class, I will. I'm the customer.
Yeah.
Right? You're providing the service.
Yeah.
I don't know. They try when my 1 year of college was horrible. They suspended me. I was supposed to be locked on like I'd violated so many rules that I was supposed to be kind of under house arrest. Like I wasn't allowed off the campus, quote unquote. All of this stuff. I was all of this suspension, and I didn't abide by any of it. And I was like, what are you going to do? Call the police?
Yeah.
I'm the customer, guys.
But nobody ever had that perspective.
People do not have that perspective with anything. I feel that way about the government. I feel that way about colleges. At some point, whoever's forking over the money should have the power.
Right. But people don't seem to agree. They don't see it that way for some reason.
Yeah. University of Tennessee, I don't have to apply to get in to your college. There are plenty of colleges.
It's an amazing thing.
You need to lower your prices and make me a good deal. That's what you need to do.
The only other brand that I see doing that, and I just discovered this in the past year, is Ferrari. You cannot buy a brand new Ferrari. If you had the cheddar to do it.
I can't anyway, but
right. But
wouldn't if I could.
You have to start with a pre-owned first. From what I can tell,
they make you start with a pre-owned,
yes,
because they're saying we're going to vet you as a customer. Yeah, sorry, Ferrari.
Imagine that.
There are plenty of other cars. Sorry,
guys.
Do it. I know. Why would you put yourself in that position, in that powerlessness, to a brand, an automobile, a set of wheels. I don't know.
Well, how did that conversation come up in a boardroom? You're like, you know what, guys? I think actually we should tell our customers who want to buy brand new ones that they can't, that they have to earn it.
Oh, I get.
What do you guys think?
I get the psychology, and it's going to work.
Yeah.
Because people will kowtow to that.
Well, let's see what the colleges are doing.
Yeah, exactly. And the government.
The government.
That's
all you can do is laugh, man.
My dad spoke before a congressional committee years ago.
Yeah. And
this was during the Clinton administration. This is in the 90s. And he said something that I just can't believe more people don't. They don't ever want me to speak before Congress.
Yeah.
Because someone said one of the people sitting on in the congressional committee said something about that he was that was a disrespectful tone that he was taking. You're speaking before a congressman, and he said, "Whoa, I don't work for you.
Yeah, I never understood that either.
You work for me.
Yeah,
I don't understand people going in and being reverent to elected officials.
Right.
I don't have to call you anything. I don't have to call you Mr., Ms. I don't have to call you Senator, Congressman. I'd call you Jack if I want to.
This is your dad said this?
I pay for you. No, my dad didn't say all that. That's what I would say.
Right.
My dad's a lot nicer than me.
Well, let me ask you, you ever see, I know I always bring this up, Marvel stuff, Iron Man 2?
Probably.
There's a scene in there where Tony Stark, who's played by Robert Downey Jr., has to go before Congress.
Yeah.
And he does exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing. I'm like, that he's like, just Tony Stark and his snarky attitude gets in front of, a congressional hearing, and he just does his sarcastic, performance.
Yeah.
And it's like, people need to take a clue from this, because that's how it needs to be. That's the posture.
I used to, this is a little, in my own business and song, as a singer-songwriter, when I was a songwriter on the row, I would hear songwriters talk about showing up to work, and they would refer to their publisher as their boss. Mm-hmm. And I would like, you guys have this backwards. We are the boss. Mm-hmm. Like, they're advancing us money against our future royalties. Nobody works for anybody except they work for us. Mm-hmm. I don't have benefits. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have an hourly schedule I'm supposed to. I don't know. I've always, maybe I just think more highly of myself than I should, but I think people get caught. That's a problem to me that I see a lot. People get caught in not understanding who has the power and who doesn't have the power.
Yeah.
They all of a sudden, I got in an argument.
You?
An online argument with I wrote something about the secrets of Playboy, this thing that's coming out, this expose on Playboy, and one of the things that bothers me about it is the at the time, and you may remember this, Jim. I remember it vividly. Mm-hmm. People posing for Playboy was them taking their power. Right? They were saying, I am empowering myself as a woman. Everybody's telling me not to do this, but I'm going to do it because this is my body and my choice and my blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
Okay. Fast forward 40 years, and now they're all upset, almost to a person, talking about how they were manipulated and assaulted. And now, rape and assault, that's different. If that happened to someone, that's absolutely horrible. Should be, those people should be put away, whatever. But just like psychological manipulation and, I didn't realize what I was getting into. And no, you have all the power.
Yeah.
You have all of it.
Yeah.
Hugh Hefner conned everybody into thinking he had it.
Right.
It's any dude sees that guy and knows what he's doing. He's conning all these women into taking their clothes off.
Right.
But if every woman in the world had just said, I'm not getting naked for you, he would have been just another perv who, smoked a pipe and
a smoking jacket.
Exactly. He would have had nothing.
Yeah.
It's just, he just reversed the power. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why we got on this.
It's interesting you say 40 years because that's right on schedule. So
Yeah,
with
that's
everything
right.
we're going through.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. We all look back and see things in hindsight. Anyway, sorry, a little salty today.
That's all right. Yeah, that's okay. I love you this way. This is perfect.
You caught me on the wrong day. I say
know,
that sometimes on my TikTok videos.
From the minute you walked in here, I was like, "Hey, how are you?" And you're like, And I was like, "So you're good?"
And you said, "Man, how's it?" You asked me 6 times. I'm like,
did.
Jim, I don't know what to tell you. I'm
you're, like,
okay.
grunting at
It's
me.
not great. It's okay.
What would be great in your mind? What's the ideal scenario situation for Regie Hamm for you to go, you know what? I'm awesome.
At this point, man, it's really about being able to just take care of my kids and have my kids' life kind of figured out.
Right.
And a lot of that's financial stuff that, my family's going through. None of it has anything to do with me personally. Right. I'm actually fine personally. I'm healthy. I feel good most of the time.
You look fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a byproduct of just, I don't care. Like we talked about earlier before we started rolling, I don't really want anything. I don't need anything. I'm not trying to achieve anything. That's why I don't know why you have me on the show. I'm not trying to solve any problem. I see these guys on TikTok and YouTube and all these influencers, and it's like, man, 10x this and I don't even want to 1x that.
It's like, shut up.
I don't want a bigger house.
Right.
I don't want $1 billion. I don't want, in my career, I don't want to be playing stadiums. I don't want 8 semi trucks. I do not want to be Taylor Swift. I do not want to, none of that. I just really want to just make my music, and if I can make enough money on it to live, and that seems to be a bigger. It seems to be the unattainable goal these days.
Well, I would imagine that we're heading towards a shift of some sort. It's got to be. Something's got to give. And even that guy with the latest controversy with Jason Aldean and a song that he put out. Now there's a follow-up guy whose name escapes me.
Oliver Anthony.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And,
right.
There's that authenticity of what music, it's not as manufactured in his sense. I haven't heard the song, but it seems to me that the authenticity is off the charts.
Well, it's just him, standing there with a dobro playing it and singing.
Right. Imperfectly as a human being. No click track, no Pro Tools grid or anything like that.
I think it's more the content of the song than it is that.
But still, that adds
specifically. To it. Yeah, I think, of course. It's human. Everybody, and he's having a moment, and hey, I'm all for that. Everybody really wants to believe they're discovering the real thing,
right?
And so, but I think the Aldean song is touching that same nerve. People are kind of fed up. They're just kind of sick. I mean, that's the nerve Trump touched.
Yeah.
And people who don't get it. Like
right.
they think it's about racism, or it's about, I don't know what it is. They read all of these things into, we're going to go backwards. It's about Nazis, and it's like, guys, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
It's about, a lot of it's about what we've been talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, hey, we need to reverse who has the power. What can you tell me why we don't have a list of the people who were on Epstein Island?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there is a list circulating out there. It's just whether or not it's verified.
Why hasn't the press? Why is there no journalist going after a Pulitzer for that?
Right.
And that's what people see, and they go, "That's because 5 guys are in on it."
Because they get Epstein.
There's 5 guys are in on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's 5 people deciding, and we're not any of them.
And here's the thing.
And that's the thing people are sick of.
Whenever, a massive change happens throughout history, whether, I always talk about going back 80 years, we have these somewhat massive calamities that happen. 80 years ago was World War II. 80 years before that was a Civil War. 80 years before that was a Revolutionary War. It is cyclical. But what does it take for people to just be so tired of it that they're, what do you do? How do you rally the collective mindset of a people? how did they do it in the Revolutionary War? You know what I mean? To fight a monster like Great Britain, but they did.
Yeah.
And there were some bleak times in that time when they did it. And it's how do you kind of rally the people? How does that all begin?
Well, it takes, believe it or not, man, I think it takes the writers. It takes people putting words together that make everybody go, oh, that makes sense. You know, Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson and some of these, Patrick Henry and some of the people who could articulate it.
Yeah.
And the revolution, man, I've been a history buff my whole life, and my dad took us to Yorktown when I was a kid. We charged to read out 10, and walking through the museum and seeing saws that cut off limbs and stuff.
Yeah.
It was ingrained in me. And it really, I think people forget what a crazy swing that was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like 50 people in Iowa going, we're going to take over the United States of it. We're going to defeat the United States of America. It's like, bro, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what happened. 56 guys said, I think we can take them.
Yeah. Well,
and
let's
then
do this.
did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, the sentiment in the colonies was resonating with what they were writing.
Well, that's it. And that's the thing is, like, everybody knew. Nobody had to go to your average person in the colonies and say, hey, you're overtaxed. Yeah. Nobody had to tell them that. They all knew.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. It's the Oliver Anthony thing. Its first line is, I can't think of it right now, but look, I don't agree with everything he says in that song, but I get it when he says, I've been working all day, for double time for BS pay. And, everybody gets that.
No.
Every person on that road outside is paying $3.68 a gallon for gasoline. Every one of them. Mm-hmm. You don't have to tell any of them what's going on.
Right.
You don't have to say a word to any of them. They all know they're overpaying for gas. They all know it.
Right.
No matter what side of the political spectrum they're on, they know. Mm-hmm. They all know when they go to the grocery store, this is costing me 20% more than it cost me last year. And last year it cost me 20% more than it did the year before.
Yeah.
They all know this because we all do household budgets. My wife is apolitical. My wife comes in and goes, why is it $200 now instead of $100? I don't have to have that conversation with her.
No.
You know what I mean? So you can put as many talking heads as you want on television telling me how great my life is. But nobody has to tell anybody what's going on. We all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think it was the same thing with the revolution. It's like, nobody has to tell you Britain sucks.
I think a lot of it right now is, we know we're doing this to you, but what are you going to do about it?
Well, that's pretty much that. Well, that's the song that I won't release. The song is called 2020 Was Rigged. And you're
not wrong.
I mean, how do you not know that it was? You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys.
81 million people, really?
No. Yeah, I mean, it's just
more votes than Obama.
Yeah, exactly. I just have never in my lifetime seen a state stop counting in the middle of it.
Right.
I'm watching the returns and I'm like, so Georgia can just stop counting? They can just stop. I maybe they can. I don't know. Maybe that legally they can, but I've never seen that.
But the thing is that, when that happens, it's a staring contest. What are you going to do about
it? That's it. That's pretty much it.
Right.
That's what, honestly, I kind of think that's where the country is right now.
Yeah.
Is that
they know.
I think it's, Jim, I don't think it's left versus right anymore. Maybe it never was.
It's us and them.
It's entrenched, unelected bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we're getting to when you look at the Trump phenomenon, and even people like me. I'm agnostic when it comes to Trump, but
right. I understand that.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But I was raised with Donald Trump. We all were.
Yeah.
He was the guy in Home Alone 2 who told, what's his name, Macaulay Culkin, how to get out of the Trump hotel. I mean, he's the guy on The Apprentice. We know who this guy is.
Yeah.
It's not like this guy showed up out of nowhere. We all knew who Donald Trump was. And he's a Hollywood high concept. It is an elevator pitch. Mm-hmm. Okay. You take one of the most eccentric real estate billionaires in the country who's never held any public office. And he decides to run for president.
And he wins.
Yeah. That's a movie, man.
And the people are elated about it who voted for him.
And he starts turning over all the rocks you're not supposed to turn over.
Right. Right. And it's basically the 2020 sent a message to people that even
you don't get to do that.
You don't get to do that.
That's exactly right.
This is let this be another JFK message to you that you will be vilified.
That's right.
And that's exactly what happened.
That is where we are. Yeah. You listen to that guy. God love him. I'm not trying to age shame anybody, but you listen to that guy who was at Hawaii yesterday, on Maui yesterday.
Right.
And you just listen to him on the radio. No context, no comment. No commentator. Mm-hmm. And you tell me that person is that's who you really want to be the that's the guy.
I think that was something that even the power structure put up, that not only will we make your guy lose,
it can be anybody we want.
Right. Even the most.
We'll take this guy right here and make him president. And that's it.
Yeah, we're going to show you exactly how powerless you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like to. I mean, I've waded into politics before with my writing, with my songwriting. I do it a lot with blogs, but not really. I write about ideas. I don't endorse candidates. I didn't endorse Trump. I will not. I don't do that. I don't try to tell people how to vote, but I am interested in ideas.
Right.
And I think when I look at my country, I don't know how you couldn't look at that the last 3 years and go, man, some weird stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And you're asking, you are requiring a lot of me. You are asking an awful lot of me
to believe that this actually
You're
happened.
asking me to believe a lot, man. You know what I mean? I'll go with you. You know what I mean? I'll go. But it's a little bit like that, that last season of a show when they really get, it's jumping the shark essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, Fonzie really jumped the shark on a jet ski. You know what I mean? You're asking me to believe that? Or I'm sorry, water skis. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. You're asking me to believe that. And I think that's kind of what's happening right now. I think everybody's just going, oh, we're just all rolling our eyes,
I talk about the book Pendulum a lot. And there is a time in a season where we start going to things that we've taken a good thing too far. We're here. Yeah. We are there now. What started out 20 years as a refreshing movement into what we call a we zenith, a we movement. We are at the zenith right now, and we've taken a good thing too far that started 20 years ago. And it's like clockwork, man. And I tell people all the time.
What is that started 20 years ago?
20 years ago was the tipping point into where we are now. So in every 40
And what was good about it? You say a good thing too far.
Typically the tipping points are, when we're between what we call a me type of culture, which I'll pull it up here, and a we. And basically what that means is not exactly, there's nothing good or bad about either. It's just that the cultural values shift over time in a, so let's see, in a me, the concepts and the ideals are so a me started in 1963. If we think about the 60s, it's not the 60s that we think about didn't happen from 1960 to 1969. It actually started in 1963.
Yeah.
The 60 to 62 was the leftover 50s. So in 1963, a lot of culture, that was a tipping point into what was the upswing into a me, which culminated in 1983. So the values in a me are typically big dreams, individual expression, freedom, being cool, personal achievement, and rose-colored lenses.
That's the baby boomers right there.
Exactly. So what that becomes too much of is, when it becomes a good thing going too far, is hollowness, posing, phoniness, self-centeredness, guru worship, and depravity. Yeah. So think about the music in the 80s, all right? That sums it up.
Yeah.
Spirit animals, things of that nature. Now, as we come down from that, we all lived through the late 80s, 90s. It was the formative years for me. the 90s was all over the place musically.
Yeah.
You know, we started out with, I mean, literally at the drop of a hat, we went from like big hair bands to Nirvana, overnight.
And it was like from Tuesday to Wednesday.
Right.
People don't realize how quickly that happened.
It was I mean, just turning on a dime.
It was Michael Bolton and Whitney Houston on the radio, like
how am I supposed
April,
to live without you?
April, and then in May it was like, never mind,
right?
You know,
I just don't like myself.
Yeah,
you know, that I'm the problem. I'm not okay. You're okay,
right?
And basically, one of the you'll recognize these buzzwords because in 2003, this is the start of the upswing into a me. Responsibility, humility, thoughtfulness, conformity, authenticity, transparency.
Yeah.
Huge buzzwords from the past 20 years.
Right.
When it becomes too much, where we are now, duty, obligation, sacrifice, regimentation, self-righteousness, and oppressiveness.
Yeah.
That's where we are, pal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
You're right, man. That's
crazy.
True. Yeah.
I recommend that book to anybody because what it does is it instills... As bad as things seem right now, and a lot of people are talking about how did we get here as a country? How are we so divided? Yada, yada, yada. I just tell them, look, we've been here before.
Yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Well, I definitely think it's been worse. You know,
yeah.
I mean, again, if you
World War
study the
II was
Civil
pretty
War,
bad.
World War II was awful. And if you study the Civil War, I don't even know how those people got up every day.
Right.
I mean, and the thing you've got to remember is like we see these things through the lens of inevitability, right? We know how it ends. They didn't.
No. And it's exactly what I say every time I explain this is that think about somebody my grandparents' age, because they're the ones who lived with it. Yeah. And this is why we don't remember things, why we repeat history, because we're a generation separated from major events.
Right.
Okay, my parents they were babies when it happened, World War II.
Yeah.
They don't remember any of that stuff.
Right.
But my grandmother was like, holy crap, are we going to be speaking German? They had no idea.
I have actually had this conversation with my grandmother. I actually one night at Christmas we were sitting, and my grandmother and I had a really tight connection. We were very connected, and we would talk, and like real humans talk. It wasn't like granny and grandson talk. It was like we would actually have conversations. And I said one time, I asked her, I said, Nanny, we always hear about the good old days. Were things better when you were my age, or are they better now? And she started laughing. Mm-hmm. She said, honey, they're so much better now.
Yeah. She
said, when I was your age, there was a man exterminating Jews.
And we didn't even know it at the time.
And every nation in the world was at war.
Yeah.
And we got meat every third day. Mm-hmm. And we had to, we recycle rubber and plastic. She goes, you don't even want to know what it was like when I was your age. There's no way that's not the good old days.
Yeah.
They were horrible days.
Yeah. But they built character.
And then she said the thing that you're talking about. She said, and we didn't know when it was going to end.
Yeah.
We weren't sure we were going to win.
There was a lot of uncertainty.
It could have gone either way. A couple of key battles here, couple of key battles there. I would say if Hitler had not invaded Russia, he makes this huge blunder and turns on his ally, and that probably basically seals his fate. But up until then, man, this dude was rolling.
Yeah. Well, even if D-Day.
Right. If D-Day doesn't go at least moderately well,
right,
the whole thing changes.
Yeah.
That's right.
The whole conversation changes. There are so many different instances in World War II, little events that happened, like he was, rumored to be developing atomic weapons.
Right.
What are they called? The Hardwater or something like that. There was a boat that sunk, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
Hitler's thing.
Yeah. If the boat hadn't have sunk,
right.
That's a game changer, pal.
That's right.
He could have just nuked an atomic blast.
He shows up with an atomic weapon.
Done.
The world is a different place.
Game over.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So, that's a lot of what they talk about in the book is the we cycle. What we're going through right now is the darkest part.
Well, I think people, from my vantage point, from the entertainment vantage point, I see certain things happening. Look, man, I'm not a political scientist. I'm not really anything. I'm a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
But like I see the actors in the writers' strike.
I was going to ask about that.
And look, I'm fundamentally on their side. Like they're having the same problems that musicians have been having with streaming. Okay, so the entire delivery system is different than it was, right? And they're kind of waking up. We woke up to this 15 years ago.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
We didn't go on strike. We went broke. But they're waking up, going, oh, whoa. So if I sell a movie to Netflix for $3 million, I get no more money from that.
Right.
Even if 100 million people watch it.
Right.
In the old days, if 100 million people watched your movie, there was money swimming everywhere. Everybody's swimming in money, right?
Yeah.
Money was, but so they really did mean that when they said this is a $7 million cap.
Yeah.
Right. All of that's finally cycling, and then they're finally waking up to we have to fundamentally change how we get paid.
Right.
I get that. On the flip side of that, I think one of the problems that they're running into is, and they're running into this with me, and I think this also speaks to Oliver Anthony. It speaks to kind of this broader thing, and that is, I don't have to have a new series to be entertained anymore.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
I don't need a new blockbuster movie to be. My son and I drove to California 6 years ago, and we were. I took him to this virtual reality place, and we got to do some VR stuff. And anyway, lots of Hollywood people are in and around that place, that little enclave, and a movie star walks right out. And I go, hey, buddy, did you see who that was? And he looked right at him, and I realized he has no idea who that is. Yeah. And it's because my son, that's not his entertainment.
Right.
Like, he doesn't care about movie stars. And if it had been a YouTube star,
different story.
But he's like, yeah, I don't know who that is, Dad. And that's part of, we kind of full circle where we talk about people under 30 and not knowing our culture. But I think the movie star, I see Tom Cruise out there, man. He's trying to get people back in theaters, and he's making. I went to see his movie, and I left about 3/4.
Was it the Mission Impossible?
Yeah, the Mission Impossible. It wasn't because it wasn't superbly done. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because I don't like him. I love Tom Cruise. I was raised with Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
it's just like. First of all, I had to leave because of my daughter, but I might have anyway, because it's like, yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's the same thing.
I get it, man. Yeah. I love what you did.
Yeah.
I really love what you did, but I get this. And this is like, and I think that's an attitude that's kind of purveying everything. That like that attitude of not just entertainment, but politics, right? College, business, everything. People are just going, yeah, okay, well, I've seen this. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of standard fare. And now what?
Right.
And like, I'm as entertained on my TikTok For You feed as I've ever been in my life.
That's where it's going.
Some kid in his bedroom making funny videos where he plays all the characters, and he did it all on his iPhone, is as entertaining to me as anything that could be written in Hollywood on a 3-camera shoot.
Yep. And it's funny because a lot of that stuff really does start to come across now. It's the strike. I was having this conversation last night, actually, and the person I was having a conversation with said that, well, my sister's involved with that. I said, I completely understand. I said, there are a lot of people in the industry. I said, but I'll tell you right now, most Americans couldn't care less.
That's right.
All right, because all the Hollywood that works in there, it's a passion industry.
That's
much
right.
like radio is, much like voiceover is.
Yep,
they're passion-driven industries.
That's right.
Okay, music's a passion-driven industry. Sometimes you can make hay with it, and not everybody can be a rock star. Right. But with everything that's happening, they're kind of putting the final nail in the coffin for themselves by doing this, because they're going to make themselves irrelevant. They're going to see just how little everybody cares about, good writing. Okay, because now all the other people that are on the fringes that are making content like you're talking about will see that all the podcasting groups are like saying, "Oh, here's our chance."
Right.
Now we can pounce.
Right.
And offer something that people want to actually listen to and watch. And we don't care if we're represented by a union.
Right.
we're gonna now that you guys are going away and you're making yourselves like the dinosaur. Fine,
Yeah.
we'll take over.
Well, even so, this dude Oliver Anthony that everybody. I mean, I was thinking about him. First of all, that song that he has out would have never gotten put out
Right.
if it was on a label. It wouldn't have made it out of a Nashville writer's room.
Right.
Okay. There's some craft stuff that's, glaring that, as a songwriter, I'd be like, but man, you know what? That people don't care about that.
No.
And so I've got this TikTok channel and we talk about songwriting, there'd be tips and that. You know what? Take it with a grain of salt because, I mean, what I know how to do, nobody may care about.
Yeah.
I don't even think they do care about it.
Well, the thing about, and this is why people like you, all right? And you say, why would you have me on? Here's the reason why I would have you on, because your perspective is refreshing. There's a reason why your blogs resonate with so many people. You may think it doesn't, and that's part of your appeal. It's your humility that comes to it. That's
I'm just
why.
being honest, Jim. I'm not being humble.
But nobody's honest. I guess there are a lot of people who are, but it's bubblegum honesty. You're not bubblegum honesty. You're real honesty. You've got the lens of life behind you. You've lived. You've got battle scars. So it comes from a place of. That's why these guys who are in the business influencer space who truly resonate. I'm talking like Gary Vee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They resonate because they're truly authentic. All right. There are other guys in the space that are trying to be something that they're really not.
Yeah.
Gary Vee's true to himself. I believe he is.
I think if
you are the same way.
I think if you're trying to learn the rules of something,
right.
You're like a smidge behind.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're like, man, okay, so if I get this piece of gear and I learn how to do that and I can do this, this gyration and I can up my this and I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. I think, but it is a conundrum because you still have to make a living.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're always kind of torn between. Well, okay, I've got to have some success, or I can't make a living. On the other hand, if I go to past this point, then I'm just not being true to any of it, and I feel, for me personally, I just feel like it feels silly to me.
Yeah,
doing something to try to drum up business or whatever. That's always just felt silly to me.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, people's BS meters are so finely attuned that they're going to be able to pick up on that motivation.
Never in the history of mankind has there been a culture that knows more about when they're being sold than there is than now. And that's why it's like, I don't even know why people bother with it.
Right.
Like when I'm scrolling TikTok, this is a good thing. This will be a good soundbite for someone to remember. But when I'm scrolling TikTok, even when they do an advertisement that looks like a TikTok video, I know it immediately. It
stinks.
And I go right past it.
Yep.
The minute Taco Bell is doing a TikTok video and I see all I have to do is see the product and I know what's going on.
Right.
I'm 56 years old. Trust me, my 16-year-old son is way more attuned to it than I am.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Immediately know when I'm being sold. And so, yeah, we all. So I think at that point, like, why bother with the pretense?
Right.
There's no reason for any of that at that point.
For example, I know that I need to lose a few pounds, right? But I still put this content out there regardless because it's fun. I have a good time with it. We have fun conversations. I pretty much say things that are true to my heart. I put out a clip a few months ago about influencers who show up to talks and stuff like that wearing flip-flops and shorts and hoodies. I said, sometimes some people that dress sharply actually give the wrong message. And there were so many people that took me to task on it. Like, you just, obviously you don't have nice clothes and, all this other stuff. And, because you can't fit into them. And they were attacking me that way. And I'm going,
Really?
oh yeah, buddy. And it was, and a lot of these things that were coming out of the woodwork were mostly about the fact that I didn't have any fashion sense, which they're not wrong. I mean, I bought this shirt at Tractor Supply for crying out loud. But I mean, that's the kind of shit
that's a fashion statement.
But
Jim.
you know what? That's me. Take it or leave it.
To me, that all falls into the category of, again, I wear sleeveless shirts.
Yeah.
Because I like them.
Right.
I like the freedom of them. I like the way my wife
It's like going commando.
Yeah, it's just like this is my thing, right? I like to do it,
but with arms.
And I like cool, funky jackets, and I don't. The point is, I don't wear anything that I dislike.
Yeah.
If you see me on stage, you can rest assured that dude likes what he's wearing.
Right. Yeah.
Or you see me out, I like to feel comfortable in what I'm wearing. Hey, sometimes that's a suit. Maybe that's, like I said, a funky jacket, or maybe it's a sleeveless shirt or whatever. But I think if you're pretending to be something, that's when you run into a problem.
People, you give off a stench.
You give
off a stench.
And it can be so subtle, but people just get it, man. They get it immediately.
I agree. I completely agree. It's funny. Have you come across on TikTok like what Metallica has been doing? They're on tour, and they're showing a lot of interaction with the fans and stuff like that. They've got a stage that's kind of like in the round in the center.
Yeah.
And they're kind of forced to having to walk from the sides to the stage. But James will be sitting there on a folding chair smoking a cigar.
Right.
And the fans are right there, just like, he's like waving to them, fist bumping them. And he's just chilling out, man, before they go on.
Yeah.
It's almost like hanging out with them. You got to appreciate that. I don't think they're doing it because for social media fodder. I really think that's who those guys are.
Well, I've said for years, look, we've all seen Elvis, and then we all wanted to see Elvis's bedroom.
Yeah.
And now we all want to talk to Elvis.
Right.
And hang out with him on social media.
Right.
And we do. Taylor Swift was one of the first people to, she would tweet back to just a random fan.
Yep.
And I think there's a kind of a democratization that's going on where it's like the larger than life. Ironically, she is that maybe one of the only a handful of people, but that are that strata where they really are larger than life. But that kind of rock star is almost not with us anymore, or at least they're not as prevalent as they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the perfect example is again going back to one of the Metallica clips that I had seen. Now you remember back in the day, if somebody pulled you out of the audience in the 80s, maybe even the 90s. Major act. Hey, come on up and play the drums. You'd be oh my God.
That would lead the evening news.
Right. That would be just unbelievable. One of the highlights of your life, right?
Yeah.
So there's a clip going around where Lars actually does that. He does it for a kid. He's maybe 8 or 9 years old. The kid's body language and posture is just like, well, I just assumed this would happen. So I'm just going to go over to the drums and sit down and play them.
And he probably crushes it.
And he did okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did fine, for an 8, 9-year-old.
Right.
I mean, he needs to develop his muscles and stuff like that. But I mean, he expected it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, this is totally under.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing that's happening. Yes, there is definitely it's an overused word, but there is almost kind of an entitlement to. I will tell you this on my TikTok channel. One of the things that bothers me, it's always bothered me, and I think sometimes comes through is that I think everybody kind of assumes that the world is supposed to lay at their feet once they write a song,
right?
And this is supposed to happen for me, and because I manifested it. It's like, no, you need to get great at writing. That is one thing that I think it's a generational thing. It's like, man, I do believe I and we came from a time when it's like, you do have to earn this, man.
Yeah.
You can't just take a few courses and do a few like Facebook Live shows and think you're ready for prime time. I mean, and I said this in one of my TikTok videos. The Beatles played 209 shows at the Cavern. Just the Cavern.
Yeah.
That's not counting all the shows they played in Hamburg, in London, and Just the Cavern, 209 shows. This is before they ever had a hit.
Right.
And I think people sometimes forget about the work. Mm-hmm. Do the work, man.
Yep.
And yeah, man, I've written 20 songs. Really? Dude, I was right. That was like 2 weeks for me in 2004.
How many songs did it take you to get your first number one?
Oh my God. I can't even count.
Right. Hundreds.
Hundreds. You know, I mean, I had my first number one when I was 26, and I'd been writing songs since I was 9.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
I've been voicing spots since 1997. I should have a ton of national work by now.
Right.
But I just didn't put the work in. I didn't really do the networking. I didn't put myself out there. The agents, I just never took it seriously. So I don't anticipate or feel entitled to any of it because I just didn't put the work in that part of it. Now with podcasting, and the same thing I hear a lot, it's amazing. I've got 10 episodes out and my numbers are just not going anywhere. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Dude, you haven't even stumbled out of bed yet.
Right. You've done 3 days of radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And?
Yeah, that's it, man. I I do have a little bit of a bug up my butt about. It's like, do the work.
Yeah.
And then do the work.
Because, nobody... I tell people that want to get into podcasting that, episode 100 is a milestone. But in the sense of radio, if every podcast episode's about 45 minutes to an hour, that's 4 months of radio, roughly.
Right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Now get to 1,000.
Now go to work.
Yeah.
It's go to work and then go to work some more.
Right.
And so therefore you really have to love it.
You got to do it for fun.
That's the thing. And when it comes to songwriting, which is what my channel is about, like, I think a lot of people don't quite realize. Not everybody knows my story. Not everybody knows where I'm coming from. I really just write songs for fun now.
Yeah.
And there's not, for the person who wants to get on that grind, there might be a living to be made. There's not a lot of money to be made doing that.
Right.
So it's kind of been freeing for me. Like, I don't really give a crap whether Keith Urban cuts my song or not, because all that's going to happen is it's going to get streamed 8 million times and I'm going to get $300, Unless you have a radio single, there's no money to be made. Radio single and then maybe sync licensing.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, radio is becoming massively irrelevant now anyway.
Like, who listens to the radio? I mean, they still pay, but I don't know who listens to it.
I don't know how they're paying, because it's amazing to me that the radio stations are still paying the licensing to ASCAP and BMI, I'm sure. But it's like eventually that's going to dry up because their revenues are, most radio stations, from what I understand, are operating in the red.
Of course.
Okay, because
how could they not?
We just had National Radio Day on my birthday the other day. And I'm like, what are we celebrating here, guys? The fact that radio stations are not developing the next generation of talent. They're cutting people loose that have had tremendous impacts on their communities. And the fact that they're looking to AI jocks.
But Jim, again, you're dealing with the same problem that the writers are dealing with. Nobody listens to it.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like dude.
But again, as a passion person that came out of the business myself, there's still an element of I still give a damn.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, you're destroying the whole industry. But why am I not surprised? That's all I'm saying.
Well, you come at it from the place I come from, songwriting. It's like you want to see the work be good.
Yeah.
What? But I will tell you, man. Again, I can't speak to radio. I can't speak to all that. But I can tell you from a songwriting standpoint and a performance standpoint, I see these kids on TikTok. Like, I'm not one of these people who says, well, it's all crap. I think it's all great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing kids sing they're just amazing, and play and the players that are out there, the musicians,
the creativity.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Now, I don't know how they would perform in a band.
Yeah.
They're kind of developing their chops for, whiz bang videos, and I don't know how that translates into playing for dough.
Right.
Backing up somebody. But there's this girl that I follow on TikTok who just plays the guitar, and she just does like covers and her little arrangements of of famous songs. It's unbelievable what this girl can do.
I bet.
And
Just natural raw talent.
Yeah, and so I in that regard, like I've got a lot of hope, but on the other hand, it's like everybody can do it.
Yeah, nobody's special.
It's like the quote in the Incredibles. Once everybody's special, no one will be.
Yeah.
And that's so the new record I'm putting out. The very first song is called "Everybody's Famous," and it's about this very thing.
Yeah. Well, what's his name did say we were going to get our 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, Andy Warhol. Everybody gets 15 minutes of it. I think it's going to be less than that. I think we're all going to get about 3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, we take what we can get, I guess, these days. Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, having fame like that wasn't a thing back in the 30s and 40s. It was for a very select few. And even looking back on historical figures, we were talking about that. We visited Washington, kind of getting back to that. I said, you look at all these guys, even as recent as Abraham Lincoln, maybe because we have photographic evidence of him, that he seems more real than a George Washington.
Yeah.
The further they get away in time, the less real they seem. Of course. Right? Yeah. And I said, and it's funny because he was a bona fide celebrity in his time.
Right.
I said, but think about all the other people that were celebrities back then that we've never heard of.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That were well known in their own time, but never transcended historical time.
Yeah.
I said, who are the people now that we're going to be talking about in 200 years? Right? We talked about this in the last episode you were on. What song? We grew up with plenty of songs that are going to cut the mustard and last multiple generations.
Yeah.
If they're lucky. Right. Don't Stop Believin' by Journey.
Yeah.
Africa by Toto.
Yeah.
All, some of them, Madonna's songs. What's we talked about Taylor Swift being larger than life, but what song is going to be relevant 10 years from now?
That is the $64 trillion question. Who knows?
I don't think any of it.
And maybe none of it. And AI will change all of it anyway. We're getting ready to hear AI music. We probably already hear it and don't even know it. But
I would say a lot of Zac Brown stuff you'll probably hear for quite a while. His
I don't hear it now.
That's true. Yeah. I haven't been privy to anything he's put out recently.
Listen, man, let me tell you, if you really want to get sobered up, just talk to anybody under 30 about what they know about Paul McCartney.
Wow, really?
And nobody knows Beatles songs.
Yeah.
I would have believed that the Beatles would transcend everything, always.
Yeah.
And some of those songs probably will. I don't think Yesterday's going to go out of style, and they're some of this stuff. All You Need Is Love is going to be around, and Imagine's going to be around. But man, it could be a generation or two where it might be less around than you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Curious point though. I bet you Broadway songs will last a lot longer.
Well, that is actually a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
And
songs
I will tell you,
Hamilton and stuff like that.
Yeah, and man, believe it or not, Christmas songs.
Yeah. They do transcend.
They now this is an inside total songwriter geek moment that we're getting ready to have. But I have a theory about that, and I believe that some of it has to do with hard rhymes and true craft. I just believe that songs with hard rhymes have a longer shelf life because they roll off the tongue better. The consonants never have to transcend accents.
Right.
The consonants never have to transcend how people form words. And language it's like a hobby of mine, and the evolution of language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the reasons why songs like White Christmas and Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, these songs last because they never have to, the consonants are always hard.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense to people out there.
It kind of does, but it's also the imagery it evokes in those songs.
Well, that's right. That's right.
It's all, it gives you the warm and fuzzies about a certain time.
People rail against sentiment. But even Irving Berlin, who wrote White Christmas, says, he called it tender corn, which we would call sentimentality. But he's like, but that lasts.
It does.
Maybe
we just need to start writing Christmas music.
I write one every year, man. I'm just trying to get my one song in the lexicon, and then no one will ever see me again.
The legacy song.
That's it. The one Christmas song that that gets played 4 million times a year, and then I will disappear from public life.
But a guy like Paul McCartney has even got to look at the career that he had with Wings and his solo projects after the Beatles and say, none of it will ever be as big as that.
Well, I think he knows that. Yeah. I mean, I think there's any way you could not know that. And he tends that garden pretty well. I mean, there's every couple of years some new Beatles documentary comes out, or he does some kind of he and Ringo, I think, have been pretty good stewards of that brand.
Right.
And they probably do as much in merch, and which is an important part of it. People just seeing the name the Beatles is still kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it keeps it alive. But I'm actually kind of surprised at how little. I mean, my son knows about the Beatles. I mean, I've got their whole body of work. He's listened to all of it, but I'm surprised at how little it has translated down to him. And how little it's I wouldn't think it would have wafted away.
Did your son get into vinyl? Seems to be on the uptick.
No, he's not in that. He still likes it to be portable.
Yeah. It's
all on his phone, man.
My daughter wanted a record player for Christmas, so we got her one. And my son, because she got one, he wanted one, so he ended up getting himself one. And when you put the headphones on, you start playing it back there.
It's all different.
Faces light up.
Yeah,
they're like, oh wow,
yeah,
what a difference it makes.
It's a great experience. I've got a record player, and I mean I never have time to sit down and listen to records, but that was something from our generation that
Well, what would be something that is kind of sentimental, or what did he call Technicorn?
Tendercorn.
Tendercorn.
Yeah.
What would be something that would be a reveal that you could surprise people with here? That you just love. That's up that alley.
Oh, that I'm sentimental about?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
I got another one on my sleeve too.
It's probably more than people would think. Mm-hmm. And Christmas is a big part of it. Like, I really get into the sentimentality of Christmas.
Right.
Nowhere else in my life except Christmas. And the minute Thanksgiving happens, I let myself have that month.
Right.
And I go all in. I watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer again.
Elf,
probably multiple times. There's a great little thing that my son and I used to watch when he was little called Prep and Landing. Mm-hmm. And it drives him crazy, but I make him come down now. He's a big teenager. I make him come down and watch it with me still. I just go all sentimental all the time at Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I just think you need something in your life that takes you back there and that
gives you joy in the feels, man.
Yeah,
you got to feel.
You're unashamed about it, and I am unashamed about my sentimentality at Christmas. Nobody can touch me, man. Once the tree goes up, I'm all in. Like, I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to hear anything topical.
Right.
I don't want to talk about current events. It's Christmas. Shut up.
Yeah. I just recently went up to Cleveland for a podcast interview, and I've been up there a few times in the past several years. Went to the Christmas Story House, which is up in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
And the first couple of times, went to the gift shop, took a picture outside the house. And I said, this time around, I'm going to actually pay whatever it costs to take the tour, go inside the house. And it's interesting to kind of go in there and hear all the stories, the behind the scenes stuff. That movie, like the tour guide asked, well, how many people have seen this movie? And I said, man, probably way too many times.
Yeah.
I know this movie probably backwards and forwards.
Yep.
And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, actually, I saw it in the theater when it came out. And he goes, you're one of the few. And he says, that was a box office flop.
Yeah, right. So was It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep. And it's crazy that it took on a whole life of its own, man. It struck a nerve with people.
Well, I still, to this day, I've seen it a bazillion, quadrillion times, but I still, every time Jimmy Stewart says, my mouth's bleeding, Bert, my mouth's bleeding,
It gets you.
Choke up, man.
Right.
And when his brothers, to my big brother George, the richest man in town, I'm just like, dude, I'm a wreck.
Right.
Every time it gets me every time, man. It's like there's some resonance in that's just, and I think we've all felt like George Bailey. I feel like George Bailey all the time. It's like, so you just love seeing that guy win. And the first time I choke up is when he stops the car. He and Mary are getting ready to go on their honeymoon.
Right.
They're gonna eat the biggest lobster and drink the most expensive champagne, and Ernie, the guy who's driving, don't look now, but that looks like a run on the bank.
Yeah.
And he makes him stop the car. Mary's like, no, George, let's just go. And I start crying then.
Yeah. Because
That's a hero moment.
Yep. That's sacrifice.
That's the first sacrifice. That's the first time that he's got everything he wants in front of him. And he goes, no, I got to take care of these people.
Yep.
And that deep down in his heart, he knows this is going to wreck my life.
Yeah. Or at least how I perceive it.
Yeah. This stop is about to wreck my life, but I have to.
Little did he know it was the first, bags of concrete pouring the foundation of his life, in a way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
What he thought was going to be his life was probably going to be a shallow, experience.
Yeah.
Much like his friend who went off and became.
Yeah. Who would you rather
successful.
be, Mr. Wainwright or Mr. Bailey?
Right. Right.
But in that moment, he is making a decision.
Yeah. So well done.
Oh my gosh!
And it's hard to believe a movie. It really is. and it's funny. I haven't been a fan of that movie all my life up until recently.
Oh really?
And it's amazing, even with A Christmas Story. Seeing it when I was 8 years old in the movie theater in Danbury, Brookfield, Connecticut. We were supposed to go to Waterbury to Chuck E. Cheese, but it snowed and we couldn't make it up there for a birthday party. So we went to the movies and ended up seeing that movie and seeing it with a child's lens.
Yeah.
You do realize that it changes as we get older.
Of course.
That movie.
Yeah.
And it is much more about the father.
Of course.
Because all along, he's the only one who's been paying attention to what the kid was saying.
That's exactly right, man.
And it doesn't hit you until you're a damn dad.
Right.
And that's what gets me in that movie.
Yeah, 100%.
The father was listening. He didn't even ask his father.
Right.
But the father was on the periphery listening. I know what you want.
That's so good.
Right?
Yeah, that's so good.
That's the masterpiece of that movie.
Yeah.
That's the masterpiece.
Although I did feel like that, I feel like that the mom was way too hot for the dad. She's too young and hot for him.
She was just hot in general.
She's just too young and hot for him. It does not ring for me. It's like, man, I think she could have done better. Even back then, I think she could have done better.
You realize that Darren McGavin was half the budget of that movie?
I don't doubt it.
And he was actually, because the rest of them, even the director, I think they said didn't really believe in its potential, but Darren McGavin did. Did
he really?
He said, you watch, this is going to be a classic.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Supposedly that's what they said, that he was the one true believer. I think,
Well, I think it speaks to, anything like that speaks to, and I've been in dozens, maybe hundreds of situations like this, where you just have to do your best work all the time because you do not know. And the thing you think is going to work almost never does. And the thing you just go, that just comes out of nowhere. At least that's been my experience. It's like, that's my most famous song. That's not even in my top 20, of best songs. But
Closing Time, Semisonic.
Yeah.
They didn't anticipate that to be.
Yeah, the people will tell you.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what your hits are.
The market will lead you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people will tell you what's working and what isn't. So,
well, I mean, it's, as long as you're doing that for yourself and living your own truth and putting everything out there that you feel like is just you and you have fun with it, you're kind of the living embodiment of it. You never know what may hit. And I think ultimately your appeal to people is that authenticity, man. You've never pulled punches when it comes to how you think about things. Yeah. And it's not like you're mean about it. It's not like you're ornery. I mean, when you came in here today, you were a little ornery, but we kind of got past
it. It's been a weird day.
Yeah.
I would say this that Well, thank you for all that. I realize you're talking about me specifically, but I would say that my default position is I don't hate anybody.
Right.
Like I legitimately really don't hate anybody, and I know enough about human actions. I've been a student of human nature and the human condition my entire life. I know enough about it to know that, hey, everybody's got a reason for what they're doing.
Right.
Even if it's something really despicable and you go, man, that's awful. What those people are doing is awful. But I'll tell you this, if you dive into it far enough, you'll go, all right, well, I know why they did it. I don't agree with it, but I know why they did it.
Yeah.
And if you can keep that kind of empathy, then,
oh my goodness,
then you're not, again, that's not absolving people of crimes, and it's not absolving people of bad behavior. It's not what I'm talking about. It's just the ability to go, man, there, but for the grace of God could be me. I don't like what that guy's doing at all, but I don't know that, he's out of the purview. I look at a guy like Ted Bundy. I don't know how he got there. I don't know how you get there as a person, but something got him there, Yeah. And so I'm obviously interested in putting somebody like that away so that they don't kill anybody else. But I am also interested in, okay, what happens to somebody to get them there?
Yeah. Yeah. What made the murderer?
What makes that happen?
But the funny thing is that you just hit on something that you're getting back to the me versus we. The one thing that's going to get us through, if you don't want a calamity, is going to be empathy.
Yeah.
To be able to articulate better than your antagonist can articulate their position. If you can do it better than they can,
right?
That's key. That's one of the things they talk about in the book, and you just hit the nail on the head. And that the voices in the wilderness, when these swings happen, like you could be one of those voices. This podcast, even though we've got construction and banging and all this stuff happening out there, this could be the one episode that takes off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're doing our best. We're weathering through all the crap that's going on in the background. We're still having a fun conversation, but it's the empathy that really does that. You just hit on a nail on the head.
Well, that's I think. Look, I'm not trying to hold myself up as some bastion of this either.
You never do,
but
you're just you.
But one of the reasons I don't want to put the song out that I'm talking about,
right, is
because to me it comes off as mean. I don't mind being a truth teller as long as I feel like that there is some empathy in it. And I think one of the things you're right, Jim. I think we're losing a lot of that. Like, okay, there are a lot of things I don't agree with.
Yeah.
That happen in the world. And a lot of things I don't understand. I think one of the things right now that a lot of people are having trouble understanding, me included, is the thing with trans, the trans movement. What is? I don't understand how this many people are suddenly saying that they're trapped in the wrong body.
Right.
My inclination though is to not. I mean, I can roll my eyes at someone trying to change third grade English, with pronouns and this and that. Okay, a buddy of mine who's a therapist and I were texting that yesterday. He's like, "Man, I have to honor all this stuff when it comes in my office," and and we were just having that conversation. But it's weird for me. It's weird for all of us. What I want to know is why. Mm-hmm. I'm more than bashing it, more than like coming at it with my fists up. I'm really more interested in, okay, why do we think this is happening? Mm-hmm. I don't want to like just make fun of people, and I don't want to just like go at them, and fight them. I'm really more curious as to why do we think, is this science that's happening? Is this psychology that's happening?
Right.
Is this cultural that's happening? Mm-hmm. But it's got to be something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's something happening. It might be a combination of all those things.
I think it's again, we've taken a good thing too far. That's where we are.
And if someone is battling that, mm-hmm. then I want to at least acknowledge that, hey, you got a fight going on. I don't want to be I will tell you that if my son comes to me and says, "Hey, I think I'm actually a girl," I will tell him first, "I've known you your whole life. You're not a girl."
Yeah.
And we'll talk through this, but I think that's not a necessarily a negative thing to do. Let him fight if he can. Look, I'm going to fight you on this. I think maybe that's something that should happen.
Yeah.
Fight for your identity if that's really what you think you are. But my default position on all of it usually is to try to empathize somewhere. Let me find out, because that, as a songwriter, just as if you take trying to be a good person out of it, just as a songwriter, as a writer in general, blogger, book writer, songwriter, your job is to analyze what's happening, is to watch people, find out where motivations are.
But even, you mentioned something just now, as take the good person out of it. What makes a good person? That it's an ambiguous statement.
You're right.
There are no good people. If we were to look at, our belief structure and the maker of makers, there are no good people. All right. The whole notion of a good Christian person is not real. Okay. We're all bad.
Yeah. It's just who has sculpted themselves into an, socially acceptable person.
And a lot of Christian people, a lot of believers find problem or challenge with having to deal with this elevated sin of culture today that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But they neglect the fact that they'll go to a potluck and gorge themselves, which in and of itself is a sin. But we don't talk about that.
So one of my TikTok videos was about this, and I think that what sin is honestly, it's just dysfunction.
Right.
Okay. So if you take the 7 deadly sins and let's take lust. Look, we are all here because mom and dad lusted after each other.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's actually a healthy thing that keeps the species alive.
Dude, we went to go see Ed Sheeran a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of lust in that stadium that created all that people.
So, yeah, exactly. That's right. That's exactly right. So I'm pro-human, and I think this is all a good thing, right? But what happens is when you turn that into just a cheap dopamine pump, now it's dysfunction.
Right.
Okay. That we used to call sin. Mm-hmm. You take gluttony. What's happening is we want to place the blame on you. It's one of the problems that I have with the Oliver Anthony song, is that he kind of places the blame on obesity on the person who's addicted to fudge rounds. Mm-hmm. Now, is there dysfunction there? 100%. If you are constantly keeping your insulin high and you're constantly, if you can't get enough food, that's dysfunction.
Yeah.
And we used to call that gluttony.
Yeah.
And we would put the blame of that on the person who can't stop eating. But there's really a dysfunction happening there. Mm-hmm. It may not be their fault.
Right.
They may just be caught in a cycle, like an alcoholic. Like you're just a disgusting drunk. Well, you're putting the blame for that behavior on that person. When guess what? Everywhere they go, alcohol is being served.
Yeah.
Everywhere they go.
Yep.
The drug that they're addicted to is being celebrated. So yeah, do people have to take responsibility? Yes, but also there is dysfunction that happens. Greed is just self-preservation. It's rooting self-interest, which is good. Look, the reason that when I'm getting ready to go drive on that 2-lane road out there, the reason we all stay in our lane is so we don't kill ourselves, not the other person, us. No. That's good. That rooting self-interest is good. But when it becomes dysfunctional, then it becomes greed. Mm-hmm. And I think you can look at all sin that way. It's all just a dysfunction. It's something that's healthy that's suddenly turned into something it's not really supposed to be or designed
and becomes
to be.
Self-destructive.
And it becomes self-destructive, and it becomes destructive for people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how we got on that,
But you know, we kind of brought faith into the fringe of this. But I mean, a lot of that is how we react as believers, you know, dealing with the cultural, you know, elevated sin, as I talked about before, whether it's homosexuality or LGBTQ, that kind of thing. My business partner put it best. He says, all we can do is the person that's going through it, let them know that we're the ones that they can come to talk to when they need to. That's it.
yeah.
You know, we're not here to judge.
I got out of that business a long time ago, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I will tell you this. I've got a lot of gay friends, being in the music business, you know, tons and tons of gay friends, and some of the best people I know, literally the best people I know, are some of my gay friends.
Yeah.
Some of the worst people I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you just got to take people individually.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know some people who are straight and they've got the kids and they look like they're, you know, everything that a good quote unquote Christian would be, and they're just awful.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I shouldn't say they're awful. They're just not where they're not where I want to be. I want to hang out with them. Let's put it that way.
Right.
You know,
And it's like, as you get older, you get more discerning.
yeah.
So.
But at my age, I don't really want to hang out with anybody. So I'm done hanging out. All right.
Well, I
gotta go.
I wouldn't mind hanging out with you.
Yeah. Well, we hung out. We hung out today.
There you go. You got ahead of your short of time.
I've got to roll.
Well,
Yes.
there we go. How do people find and follow you?
Dude, I have no idea.
RegieHamm.com.
It's 1G, 2M. There's not even a RegieHamm.com. I don't even have a website.
Really?
Find me on TikTok. Everything's under. It's Regie Hamm on Facebook, wherever, Instagram. I just pop up here and there. The new record will be out probably next week, and it will not have the song on it that we've been talking about. It's one of the more positive records that I've done.
Good.
And I just the title cut my son and I wrote together, and it's just there's a lot of love in this record. There's a lot of healing in this record, and I just don't want to sully it with something that's mean.
Right. I got you.
You know.
Understand.
So
Well, there you go. Check us out at what'syourproblempodcast.com. Follow along, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And Reggie, always, this is why I have you back. Because what a time. I didn't even hit the what's your problem. We tackled all the problems. So I don't know if
we didn't solve any of them.
That's all
Jim.
right. That's all right. We still have the conversation going. So,
All right.
Thank you again for coming out here and being on.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thanks.